Today we're going to talk about what constitutes manhood. I think it's an important conversation to have due to the fact that we have millions upon millions of young black males that have no model for manhood in their lives. They have their daddies missing in action. They have knuckleheads in their family, for uncles, and what you call them, mama's boyfriend is a kook. The grandfather's a drunk. There's all kind of issues going on. So that the young men who do have a positive male role model to emulate are in the minority. And even then, sometimes, the guys are kind of slacking because they have a weird mentality about women and power and control and that kind of thing. So what I wanted to do is take a few minutes to outline for you the principles of manhood that I was raised with by four very strong, very positive, very successful black males. My two grandfathers, my uncle who was a chef here in San Francisco, and my own father. I just wanted to kind of give a different perspective. You can take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure my definition is not the end all and be all, but I think it encompasses a lot of very positive behaviors and attitudes that, if adopted by a young man, could carry him a long way. There's nothing about this that's sexist, and there's nothing about it that is limited to African American males. Most of the young men in other races, though, are being taught these things at home by their fathers. So, our boys are behind the eight ball on this, and, this is just one avenue for them to utilize to kind of think about the kind of man they want to be when they reach adulthood. Now, I think the first thing to do is define what manhood is. And basically it's defined as a state of being a man rather than being a child. And when we refer to males that we don't feel have reached the level of manhood, we refer to them as immature, childish, petty, silly, undeveloped, that kind of thing. So when we talk about a young man as a, quote, fine young man, or that guy is a leader, he's a capable man, he gets our respect, he gets our admiration, and that is the kind of man that mothers should strive to raise. That's the kind of little boy, teenage boy, that we should be trying to put out here into the world. So this information is a guideline for mothers as well as for the young men, for what they need to think about as they move through childhood into adulthood. Now, I think it's also important to point out, a lot of people, they reach a certain age, right? And they start running around with their chest poked out talking about, I'm a man. Negro, sit your little narrow ass down somewhere. You are not a man. You living in your mama's house. You ain't paying nary a bill. Mama's cooking for you and doing your fucking laundry. You ain't had a job. You don't do shit. So how, just because you fucking, you think that makes you a man? That doesn't. It makes you a little boy running around here pretending to be something that you're not. So it's very important that people understand manhood is not automatic. You don't get to wear the manhood title just because you reach a certain chronological age. That has nothing to do with it. Going to jail and getting street cred has nothing to do with being a man. Any fool can get locked up. Using and abusing women. Any little punk can do that shit. What is that? Macking women and pimping women. You're victimizing somebody who's younger, smaller, and weaker than yourself, and you think that makes you a man? It makes you a punk. So, I think that it's important that we focus on not so much the negative, because, I don't want to do, I want to give people some ideas of where to go, what to do, what to think about, what kind of things to incorporate into their lives and behaviors and things to adopt, mindsets. Those are important. So the number one thing that my grandfather used to really emphasize is that a guy be a man of his word. His phrase was, a man's word is his bond. And it was like if somebody told you they was going to do something, and you exchange money or services or whatever, you could go away knowing that that person was going to come through, because that was a man that you could count on. These are guys who do what they say, and they do what they say they're going to do. They mean what they say, and they say what they mean. Their conversation is not ambiguous, it's not trickery, it's forthright, honest, open, and something dependable and respectable. These are men who honor their commitments. If they tell you they'll be somewhere at a certain time, that's where they're gonna be. You know what I mean? There's no game playing here. It just really means, like, if you are a guy who is a man of your word, that people around you, especially your loved ones, can depend on you without doubt and without question. You've established that kind of responsible behavior with them, and they know that you're going to be there and meet their needs. They are full of trust for you, and they have a deep confidence in you, and they respect and admire you, not just your loved ones, but every person that you come in contact with, because this kind of behavior is so rare these days. People are such fucktards and bullshit artists that, the trust in each other has really waned. And I think that has contributed to a certain downfall to a certain percentage of our society. If you have a bunch of people that can't trust that, they fear everybody's playing games, and then you marry somebody like that, or you date somebody trying to create a life with somebody like that, that's a downhill slope. So guys, if you want your woman to really respect you and admire you, you want your mama to respect and admire you, you want your boss to respect and admire you and promote you, give you raises, you want to be looked at as a positive influence amongst your peers, be a man of your word. Be that dude who's, about something. And it will carry you a long way. All right, that's point one. Number two, don't bring harm to others. Now, this is a big umbrella, because you can bring harm to others with lies. You can bring harm to others with theft. You can bring harm to others with assault and battery. You can bring harm to others through sexual assault. You can bring harm to others through other kinds of, white collar crimes. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can bring harm to others. But think about the big umbrella, and think about any actions that you take, the negative repercussions that could befall someone else, and then take a different path. That's all I'm asking. You want to try to avoid hurting other people in any way possible, especially the people that you claim to love. And, even if you're not hitting on a woman, like beating her down, you can hurt her with what you say, because the things that you say to a woman can cut her like a knife. They can kill the spirits of women and children. And I think, if you're in a situation where you out with your friends, right, and they getting ready to do some, foul, funky stuff, and I'm going to get more into this later. What do? You see that they're getting ready to hurt somebody. What do you do in a situation like that? Do you be like Boys in the Hood, where dude got out the car because he knew it was getting some funky shit was going to go down? That would be my recommendation. You're not in a position to do harm to others. That is your rule. You don't do it. And if you have some friends who are about to plat life, maybe you need to get some new friends. Point three, tenet number 3. Take responsibility for your words and your actions. Now, this one is often ignored. People are very quick to place blame on someone else for why they made the choices they made, or did the things that they did, said the things that they said. Like a guy will beat up on a woman and say, well, you made me mad. No, you let yourself get upset to the point where you retaliated with your fist like an infant. That's what you did. So if you're the kind of guy that thinks, the solution is violence to everything, then you're not a man. You're just a tall toddler. That's what you are. So, the key to manhood is, if you do something, you own it. You own it. You made a decision to do whatever it was you did, and you made a decision to be whatever you decided to be, and to do whatever it was you decided to do. Say it, do it, be it. You decided all of those things. That was your choice. So, you have to step up and take responsibility for any repercussions of those actions. You said some fucked up shit, you did some fucked up shit, you behaved in some fucked up kind of way, then anything that comes after that, you have to accept responsibility for it, because that's what men do. It's nobody's fault but yours. And I think parents need to focus more on this and stop trying to save their sons from drama. I mean, boys need to be trained early that, certain behaviors will react, there will be certain reactions. So you learn that in chemistry, right? But, a lot of people are younger, or they don't take chemistry for whatever reason. But there's a reaction to everything. So you have a situation that you caused to happen, there's going to be an effect from those actions. Sometimes it will be positive, sometimes it will be negative. But whatever it is, you're responsible for it, and you need to own it and then deal with it. Okay? Number 4, be an example for others to emulate. Now, I'm not saying you got to be like a sports figure, the kids all over the world want to be like you and all that old stuff. I mean, this could just be in your own family, your own household, or your extended family, your nieces, nephews, whatever. You want to be the kind of guy that you would want your son to grow up to be. And ladies, this applies to you as well. You have a son, think about how you're raising him. Think about the messages that you're giving him, and think about how you're treating him is going to affect him in the future. I saw a very interesting situation today where a woman got on the commute train with her son. He looked to be about 6-7 years old maybe. And she set this big old boy down in the seat, and she stood up. And I looked at that and I thought, now see, she's doing this wrong. And I mean, I could understand, like on the subway in New York or somewhere where people are snatching kids off trains or whatever. You want to provide a protective barrier between your child and some pervert. But this is in San Francisco. Ain't shit like that going on. And they have cameras on the train and everything. You ain't gonna get away with too much. Because remember Oscar Grant? He was killed by the BART police, honey. BART police do not play. So you don't want to do anything stupid on a BART train. So there's really no concern about something like that, but I think sitting a boy down while you stand up sends the wrong message. He's supposed to be learning at this early age how to treat women, especially how to treat his mother. And a situation where you're treating him as he's more delicate than you are, that's some bullshit. That little boy should have been standing his little funky ass up, and his mama should have been sitting down. If anything, your child is young enough, sit your child on your lap. But there's no way in hell I would have had a 6-7-year-old son sitting in the seat while I'm standing up. Oh, no. That would never happen. And that's something I think, mothers need to think about. What kind of messages are you really transmuting to your child? And, for women, would you want your son to grow up and think about the way that you want your son to grow up and what you want him to be in the world. Think about what kind of husband you want him to be, what kind of father you want him to be, what kind of community leader you want him to be, what kind of employee you want him to be. That modeling starts at 3 years old, 2-3 years old. Okay, so don't think you can spoil them rotten until they're 7 or 8 years old and then suddenly switch up. It's too late. The personality for a child is already formed by then. And if it's all fucked up, you did that. So you need to start rethinking your behavior, how you let these boys behave. And men, you have to think about, what you're modeling here. If you're going to be an example, think about, do I want my son to grow up and be just like me? Because that's what he's looking at. He's looking at, if daddy does it, it must be okay to do. If daddy's that way, it must be okay to be. If you don't like that, like you a crackhead or drunk, you got some problems, you in and out of jail, all this old shit, and you don't want your son to be like that, be like you need to fix that. You need to talk to him a lot about the mistakes that you made so that he doesn't make the same ones. So you want him to be, stress that you want him to be an example for other kids to emulate, other young men to emulate, and then put him on that track and keep him there. Number 5, stand up for what is right. Now, I think, there was this book from, I don't know, the 90s, 80s or something called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And it was great. It was a great book. I mean, it was like a multi-million copy bestseller. But it emphasized basic moral principles that we all know from childhood. And I think it's important to emphasize that, we all know what's right or what's not right by the age of 5. We know how to treat other people. We know how to clean up after, pick up after ourselves and not do horrible things to others. And I think focusing on that and reminding our boys that behavior is a choice. If you stand up for what's right, sometimes that path is going to be lonely. It's most people like to go along with the crowd. They like to be a part of the crowd. And sometimes, you got to turn your back to the crowd and make your own path. Don't be afraid to do that. Standing alone and strong and alone is a sign of a man. He's a decisive individual who sticks to what he knows is right. He is not easily swayed by knuckleheads, badgering, bullying, begging, whining, or the groupthink. He has no problem standing alone. And I think that's very important to teach your boys, because a lot of young men really do have this pack mentality. They get with their friends and they're easily led astray, by whoever is the strongest in the group. So they end up in jail and stuff. And you're like, well, where did he learn this shit from? I never taught him that. It's from his, listening to his stupid ass friends and the people that he hangs out with. So you got to get in your kids' heads early and, really kind of emphasize to them that they need to have some strength of character and not be a follower. Instead, be a leader. Point number 6. Men need to protect those who are too small, too old, too weak, or too young to protect themselves. Now, on this certain stupid website, which I shall not mention because it's retarded, they like to feature videos of people getting in fights and beat down and all this stuff. And I happened to wander over there one day and saw some videos of men standing around watching various women being assaulted in the street, watching them getting snatched in the cars, and they did nothing but film it and watch. That was the most disgusting display of panty-wearing motherfuckers I have ever seen. I was disgusted. As I had a boyfriend, and this is when I was, going to college, and he come up to visit me, and he was from Texas. They still have real men down there. And we had come from Golden Gate Park, right? So we were driving down Haight Street, and excuse me, my throat's getting dry. We're driving down Haight Street, and right on the corner of Haight and Ashbury was this brother just beating this little sister, and she was a little, small sister. He just pummeling on her, right? And I turned to the side. I said, did you see that? And by the time I said that, my boyfriend had jumped out the car, hopped over the hood of my car, because we were stuck in traffic, we couldn't move forward. Hopped over the hood of my, ran over there and grabbed the guy and threw him up against the wall and told him, motherfucker, you want to hit somebody, hit me. Now this boy was 6'3", was all up in the gym, and really was a very imposing figure. So it really wasn't like dude could take him, and dude knew that. So he, well, man, it ain't none of your business, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, man, from where I come from, men don't hit women. I don't know what the fuck you doing. So he helped the girl up and everything, and she staggered on down the street. I wanted to get her in the car and, take her to the emergency room because she was bleeding. But, she kind of ran away, so that was the end of that. But, that to me is an example. He was raised with the values that the men in my family were raised with, in that you protect those who are too small and weak to protect themselves. You do not sit around a group of men. It's like 8, 10, 12 of y'all. Y'all could take one dude. But you're sitting up there like cowards just watching a woman being victimized, laughing and filming it. What kind of punk bitch shit is that? I mean, it's like, it's just disgusting. It's a disgrace. And yet you want to call yourself men. You're not men. You're punk bitch motherfuckers. So, I just you can't respect anybody like that. You just, the dude has violated the manhood code. You're supposed to go up there in 2 or 3 people and beat his ass. Now, I mean, of course, you don't always have to fight. It doesn't always have to be physical. You can, diffuse a situation verbally. You can diffuse a situation calmly, with the goal of protecting the person from further harm. Even it means call the cops. I mean, whatever you need to do to protect that person from further harm, that's fine. But, inevitably, there's always 2 or 3 dudes around who could easily take down one. And yet they fail to do it, and I never understand that cowardice. Okay, point 7. Make your presence felt. I mean, make people feel you. You're a father, right? You roll in, you don't even really have much to say to your kids. You don't do anything with them. You don't talk to them. You don't interact with them. You don't play with them. I mean, you don't ask them about their day. You don't sit down and talk with them about what problems they're having. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, really? To make your presence felt, you got to not just talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. So you telling people, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. What are you doing? And if you want your children to grow up and to be somebody that you can be proud of, you have to show them how to do that. That means you have to be there. You have to be present, and you have to be there on an almost daily basis. I mean, as they get older, they start hanging out with their friends, and they don't really want to be bothered with their parents too much anyway. And then you can hit them up on their cell phone or something, and just have a conversation over the phone. But you've got to stay in touch with your children. You've got to keep up with who their friends are, what's going on in their world, what their emotional state is, because they're children. They're not necessarily always capable of communicating it clearly. That's where parenting comes in. That's where you have to step up and, be there in word and in actions for the people that you claim to love. Be there in word and action for your community. Be there in word and action for your wife. Be there in word and action for your extended family. I mean, make your presence known. Let them know that you about them, and that whatever they need, you're going to help them get it. You're going to be there for them in whatever way you can. You know what I mean? So one of the best conversations I had on this was one night I was at this bar, and I met this older guy. I was, in my 20s at that point. He was already damn near in his late 50s. And he was telling me about his married life. And he said the thing that he really appreciated about his wife was how good she was at creating memories. And that stuck with me. I thought that was a high compliment for a man to give his wife, because he says that is what sealed him to her. The history that they have together, and the joys and the dreams that she made come true for him. So if you as a parent can do that for your son, create memories with your son. Mothers, you do it too. Daddies, you do it too. And your children can, recount those experiences and pull back on them like I do all the time on my broadcast. I talk about situations that happen and things that my grandfathers and uncles and my older brother and my father said. And those are memories that they created that I will carry with me till the day I die, or the day I get senile, one or the other. But you see what I mean? If you make your presence felt in someone's life, you will always, always, always be in their head, and you will always, always, always be in their heart. So do that. Don't drift away. Be there. Be present. Point number 8, be courageous. Now, in reference to what I was talking about a little bit earlier, about the guys just watching the women getting the beat down. That's one aspect of it. But courageous also means being willing to take risks. And sometimes we're in an environment where people aren't being successful, they aren't striving, they aren't achieving, and the person, people get afraid of going against that. They're afraid of the ridicule that they'll have to endure, the taunting, the struggle of getting up early, taking a bus or whatever to make their dreams come true. So they just put them aside, or they don't even try because they feel like, what's the point? I want you to have some damn courage. Nothing comes easy in this world. If you want to be a man, you have a dream of the kind of man that you want to be, God damn it, get your spinach and eat it and do something with yourself. Don't you let yourself wallow in the mud and mire with some pigs. Get your ass up. Do what you need to do to make the dreams that you have come true. You got to go after what you want in life. You cannot let other people and their stuck in the mud small minds stop you. You trying to fit in with their asses, they're at the bottom. You need to go rise to the top like cream. So it's going to take courage. You're going to have to be able to do things differently than with the way they do and what you might be used to seeing in your social circle or your family. Maybe you'll be the first one to graduate college. Maybe you'll be the first one to move, across state or to another country, travel to another country, something. Have the courage to be different. Have the courage to stand out. Have the courage to make the dreams that you set for yourself come true. And if you're afraid, I don't give a fuck. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Okay? That's how self-esteem is built. When you see that you can accomplish something, it makes you feel good about yourself. And then you keep doing that, you'll feel better and better until you get to be as fabulous as me. Because I know my self-esteem is off the chart. You can't tell me nothing. Okay? And I think another thing is, you got to watch the messages that you let people put in your head. This again takes courage. It takes courage to sometimes, you have to shut people out. Sometimes you got to let people go. They could be your friends since childhood. They could be family members. You got to push them aside. And that takes courage to do. You don't owe people shit. Not in that situation now where they trying to block your success. You better step over them. And it's the kind of thing that, they'll feed you these messages of failure and loss and suffering and negativity, because they are that crabs in the barrel kind. They want to keep you down where they are. Don't let them do that to you. Have the courage to say no. Have the courage to say, these are the dreams that I have for myself, and fuck you if you don't want to help me dream them. I got to go. I got to be me. And then you go do it. Don't be afraid of standing apart from the crowd that you used to being in and cutting a new path. Don't be afraid. Be courageous. Number 9. A lot of young men struggle with this because nobody ever taught them. Make sound decisions. Teaching your child to think and make solid choices it takes time. And again, it's something that you have to start when your sons are very young. You start by talking them through it. And you say, well, okay, this is a situation. I say it's a situation. And you say, well, what do you think are the issues that you might have? What kind of problems might happen if you do this? And so then the kid will think about it and they'll tell you and say, okay, well, let's say you do this other thing. Then what? See, and you're giving them the options at this point. You're just you're guiding them to analyze the pros and cons of the situations that you present. That's how you train them to think and make decisions. Then after, a few years of that, you'll be able to say, well, what do you think? Run down the pros and cons for me. And then they'll do that by themselves. And that is a trick that my parents used with my brothers and I. And it worked very well. So, we can roll through to make a decision-making process now in like 30 seconds, roll through all the pros, roll through all the cons, and make a sound decision quickly in less than a minute, because we were trained to think that way, and we were trained to analyze very quickly and thoroughly. That's something that you have to teach your children. In some schools, they have logical thinking. They actually teach them how to think logically in schools now, which I think is kind of crazy. Whatever. As long as they learn it, I guess. But I think it's a skill set that should come from home, not from school, because you never know what kind of stuff they're teaching your child. I don't trust some of these teachers. And I think it's important to emphasize, especially to young men, that they need to keep a level head. Making emotional reactions without carefully thinking things through and without planning, thinking of all the repercussions, possible pros and cons. Just like if you're playing chess, if you move this, well, what's going to happen? Just this is the king. Who's going to, what piece you going to lose on the board, where you going to be after you move. I mean, you have to think, train your child to think in that way. There's like I said, for every action, there's a opposite reaction. So you got to teach your child what those are and how to assess them. They're not going to learn that on their own. You have to show them how to do that. Otherwise, you go have a kid who's a teenager, out there, you put them out there in the streets by themselves or send them away to college, and you haven't taught them how to fucking think. They're just like sending a lamb to slaughter. That is like really terrible parenting. You should not do that. You can't have your kids making emotional reactions flying off the handle. They need to know how to plan, and they need to know how to write out the steps to execute the plan. They need to know how to weigh all options and listen to other perspectives or get input from trusted, people like, trusted elders or whatever, and or teachers, whatever. And maybe if it's something a little bit different, they need to do some research. You can do research at the library. You can do research by asking people that you trust, mature adults, responsible mature adults, or you can, get on Google. I mean, whatever. This is just a broad conversation. It's going to cover a lot of different possible scenarios. But, and then point number 10 is that you have to put in the work. I think a lot of people, we live in a society now where people are used to instant gratification. They're used to getting, we text, right? 140 characters, instant message, for cell phone calls. I mean, everything happens, quick. And people are used to that kind of, of thing happening. And you got like kids graduating from college, and they don't have no work experience and don't know shit, but thinking they're going to jump out of school making, $80,000 a year. Think of fucking again, and they get like upset that they're not making all this kind of grand theft money. Unless you in computer science programming or something, that ain't going to happen. You can forget it. So, I don't know. I think, one thing my dad told me is, there's no free rides in the world. Ain't shit free was his exact phrase. Ain't shit free, he would say. And what he meant was that you pay for everything. You pay now or you pay later, but you always pay. And the ideal solution is to pay when you receive. Make sure that you keep your books clean. Let's put it that way. So you put in the work to get the things that you want. Don't look for people to give them to you. Don't look for people to do it for you. Get off your lazy ass, man the fuck up, and make the shit happen. That's on you. You don't want to look for handouts. Roll up your damn sleeves and get busy. If you need some help, that's where you ask your parents. You ask a trusted family member. You get a buddy to help you, make it happen, and then you help him. See, that's how you pay. You don't just look for a handout. You're going to help each other, okay? Whether it's like fixing your car engine or putting on some brakes or building a playhouse for your kids or planning your wedding proposal, everybody needs backup. Everybody needs support. There's no shame in that. But you have to do the work. Don't look for other people to do the work for you. Your friends and your family, they'll always support you if you stepping forward. If they see you on a track of, forward movement, even if you're going slow, they will have your back and support you. But they want to see you moving forward. Okay, so you can't be sitting around talking about, I'm going to start a business, but your ass is sitting there playing Xbox all day. See, that's not moving forward. That's stagnant. And I think that, just from observation, men seem to appreciate things the most that they work the hardest to get. And like a teenage boy, if he had to work for 2 summers to get the money to save up to buy his car, it could be the little raggediest bucket you ever seen in your life. But the fact that he worked and he bought it, well, his little chest will be so stuck out. He'll be so proud of himself. And I think we need more of that in the black community. We need to find ways to actualize our children and, build our sons' self-esteem and give them some direction And these things that I'm saying can come from a mother or a father. I mean, ideally, it would come from a father who's active in his son's life. But these things could be also reinforced with a grandparent, an older brother, an uncle, a stepfather, whatever. Just some positive person, some positive influence in a young man's life that will help guide him to success. That's what we need more of in the black community. And I'm certain that following what I call these tenets, because it's 10 of them, tenets of manhood, will go a long way towards, propelling some young black males to success and achievement, personal relationship happiness, and professional greatness. My name is Deborrah Cooper. I'm the advice columnist on survivingdating.com. We welcome your comments. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye-bye.